Hello everybody, it's me Sam from WoopaGaming, and today we'll be showing you the TerrainControl plugin for Bucket. It's just me today because this is a very config based plugin and it's very complex, so I'll just be doing this one. There's not many commands and I'll just go over those at the end. But TerrainControl is a world generation plugin. It allows you to create many amazing worlds through your server. If you want to have a look, these are some of the screenshots. We've got a cave world here with loads of lava. And we had a desert world. There we go, a desert world with loads of palm trees and stuff. And it's really quite cool. We can configure loads of things about it, and we're going to be going over it. So it can be quite complex in stages, and I'll hopefully try and clear up any errors. There are some tutorials, but I know looking at the forum posts, some people find them quite difficult. So hopefully this video tutorial will actually help. It might be a bit long on the long side, but hopefully it'll be worth it. So just stick with it and be okay. So for this tutorial we'll be using Multiverse to generate the world, but if you can use it as your default world, and it tells you there, just edit your bucket.yml should you want that, but I'm guessing most people have Multiverse. So download the jar, and we'll want to drag and drop that into our plugins directory. So let's just finish off. There we go. Right, so now I'm going to start the server up. So at the moment it won't do anything. It will just say loading TerrainControl and enabling TerrainControl. Well, we haven't actually told it any worlds to generate yet, so it's not going to do anything. And if we go to our plugins, there'll be no directory there. So what we want to do is actually create the world. So we're going to do mv create the world name, so Woopa, then normal -g TerrainControl. I'm using Multiverse like I said, but if you're using another one, you'll just have to type the command for that. So this is the Multiverse one. We're going to create a new world called Woopa, which is normal, but with the generator to create TerrainControl. It's very important that you have the generator TerrainControl, or else it won't work and it'll just be a normal world. I'm going to hit enter, and there we go. TerrainControl will start loading all the biome settings and all the world settings, and then it will start preparing the spawn. So there we go. Console complete. So now we're going to stop the server and take a look at the configs. Okay, so if we open up, first of all, there we go, there's our world Woopa. So go to plugins, and we should see a TerrainControl, worlds, and then the world name. So if you have multiple worlds with the TerrainControl generator, you'll see multiple directories here. Well, we're just going to go for Woopa. Okay, so first thing we'll do is the world config. Open this up in your favorite text editor. I'm going to be using Notepad++ if it loads. There we go. Okay, so let's begin. As you can see, it's very commented, but I'm going to go over what it is anyway. So mode terrain. So the possible ones are normal, old generator, terrain test, and not generate. If you want to use all the features, then I just recommend just staying this as normal. If you want to use the old generator, and there's a few configs down the bottom, then change this to old generator. And if you want it to generate terrain without any resources and stuff, then just do terrain test. If you want to just see how it looks, and then you want to put on all yours and stuff, and then terrain test, and then you can have not generate for just empty chunks, whatnot. And then this is similar to the biome mode. So normal, old generator, and default. We just want normal because we're going to use all the features. Right, so if you want large percentage area of biomes, then you want to set this to a small value, so 1 or 2. But if you want big biomes, then you want to have a bigger number. So we'll have higher values, say about 20. However, if you're going to use very large numbers or very small numbers, it may affect generation performance and may cause a lag. So depending on what you want, I would just change this a small amount from say like 7 to 13. You should be fine. I think I have this one on about 11 just because we want slightly bigger biomes. So the max biome rarity, so 1 to infinity. So you can raise this for fine and grain controlled. You can create, this is just a chance of creating a biome and stuff. Land rarity, right, so this is basically how rare land is as opposed to oceans and stuff. So if you have this smaller then obviously land will be rarer, and there'll be bigger oceans. So what normally happens, a slight annoyance really, is that you get loads of big oceans sometimes. If you want to avoid this, then make this number 100 or 99 or very high. But if you want big ocean worlds, then you can set this to 0. Then you'll have massive big oceans. You can create an ocean world. That's how that does. The land size, this is similar to generation depth. You can have this from 0 to the generation depth. So you can't have this bigger than the generation depth, which is this one here. So at the moment I can have that from 0 to 10. And this is just the size of the land. Okay, the land fuzziness. So this just makes it all like, well, fuzzy is a good word to describe it. I'm trying to think of another word, but it's more like how bubbly and bumpy it is really, and it will make sort of lakes and stuff. So if you increase this number, then it will become more fuzzy, and if you have it 0, then it will be much more less fuzzy and smooth and stuff. And this again is different because it's generation depth minus land size, so it's 10 minus 0, so the max I can go to is 0 to 10, so the land size is 0, so it doesn't make any effect on this time. So ice area's rarity 100 to 1. This is if you have it smaller than 90, then you're going to have loads of ice. This is just how rare ice is. If you don't want ice as much, then increase this number. If you want loads of ice everywhere, decrease this number. But like it says there, if you have it near 0, then you're going to have a very icy world because it'll just be so common that it would just be everywhere. And then you have ice area size. So this is just like land size, how big the ice is from 0 to the centigrade generation depth. Frozen rivers, this is whether or not when it spawns a river, whether or not you want it to be frozen or not. Frozen oceans, this is whether or not you want an ocean to be frozen or not. And then you have the river rarity, so 0 to generation depth, so 0 to 10. This is just how rare the rivers are, so at the moment it is 4, so they'll be, well, fairly common but not too common. What will happen if you do have the rivers enabled here, when I was doing my tests, many of the biomes had rivers in between them, which was quite cool. So that's how it works really. Okay, so this is, now we're really getting into the main sort of stuff. This is what the rest of the stuff is, you know, it changes everything, but if you really want to make a specific world or a unique world, then here we go, this is the bits. So we have what biomes we want. We can actually take out biomes that we don't want. So if we don't want a jungle biome, we can just bish bash bosh delete it. And we can add more here as well, but I'll show you that in a bit. And then we have ice plains, is the ice biome, and then isle biomes. These are the biomes that go on isles and stuff. So we have the Mushroom Island, where all the, what's it called? I can't even spell it. Can't say it. There's like mushroom cows and stuff there. And then you have the ice mountains. So these are the isles basically. And then we have the border biomes. So these go between 2 biomes as well. So the isle biomes sometimes, so like we have forest hills, you'll have a forest biome, and sometimes you'll have a forest hills biome in amongst that. So you can vary it up a bit, and same with desert, tiger hills, jungle hills and stuff. And we also have custom biomes, so you can have your own custom biome. I believe one of the default ones is the hell biome, which is all made out of gravel and it has loads of pigmen and stuff, so you can actually have this in your world. And we simply just type in the biome name, and then we add more with comma and whatnot. So the biome image generator value, we're going to go over this in the commands, but we'll just, this is like the image it creates when you just want to see the layout of your world. You can change this to repeat, continue normal, or fill empty. And then if you're going to fill empty, then you can have the ocean biome or any other biome you want there, and that'll just change the image boundaries and whatnot. And then you can offset the X and the Z coordinates to shift the map position. And we'll go over a bit more about the image generator when we actually go in game and create the image map. Okay, so now we have the terrain generator variables. So the world height bits. So this just determines the generation height. So maximum is 8, minimum is 5. If you want very high world, then obviously set this to 8, and there'll be a 256 height, which is very high. And so you'll have very tall landscape and lots of caves and stuff. If we want it half height, then have 7 by default. Set the water level, so every block under this level will be filled with water. So we have the water level max is 64, and then it goes from 64 to 0. If we want to increase the water level, then increase this value, or if you don't want any water at all, you can set it to 0, and you'll have just no water at all, and you'll have very like muddy areas of where the water would be. You can do is you can change the block ID for the water level. So by default it's just normal ID of water, and the ice block is 79, which is the normal ID for the ice. So you can change these if you want. If you wanted lava lakes or lava oceans, then you can change the water block to lava. And if you didn't like ice and you wanted something else, I'm not sure what else you could change it to, but you know, it's up to there. You can customize it to how you want. Okay, so now the fracture horizontal. This is how much it fractures horizontally, so how much it increases and decreases on the y-axis. So if we have values greater than 0, then it's going to be fractured more and be more jaggedy. But if you have it less than 0 or a negative number, then it's going to be much more smoother. And this is the same for the fracture vertical, except this is for the vertical plane. So if we have positive values, we're going to have large overhangs, if you can imagine, and floating islands and caverns and stuff. So if you want a cavern world, then you're going to want to increase this value a lot, and you can just have to change some other settings as well. But if you want a cavern world, then have this, and you can also create floating islands by increasing these values as well. Remove all surface stone with the biome surface block. So sometimes there'll be surface stone on a biome. It doesn't look very nice, so I always set this to true when I'm generating worlds using TerrainControl, and it just tries to replace the stone with the surface block of the biome. Disable bottom of bedrock generation, so if you don't want bedrock on the floor, you can turn this off. And we would also enable or disable the ceiling bedrock. So if you've got a cavern world or just massive caves, then you might want to have bedrock on the floor and bedrock on the ceiling, because then you can imagine it'll be just a cave and people can't obviously get out. And then you can also have a flat bedrock as well. So the normal generation just makes it all bumpy. You can have a nice flat bedrock, and I always set this to true because I always find it annoying that it's all bumpy. I just like flat bedrock. And then you can change the block ID for the bedrock. So you could change this to, I don't know, sponge or something, but then remember, people will be able to break through sponge, or you can set it to obsidian or whatnot, so you can change it to like. So now we have map objects. These are by notch, so the stronghold, villages and mine shafts. If you don't want any of these generated in your world, then you can set these to false. I always tend to set them to false because I have my own bobs, which we'll talk about later. World visual settings, these are just the colors for the fog and the night. These only work if you have the single version of TerrainControl for clients, so we won't go on to that, that's beyond the scope of this tutorial, but if you want to do it, just change the color codes there. Now the Bob object variables, we'll be talking about Bobs in more depth in a second, but these are just little items, or I guess if you think of them as schematics from like World Edit, the little buildings or trees or anything like bushes and stuff, which will just be placed in your world as you like. So you can have custom trees, you can have little statues, anything you can imagine you can have, so just randomly place these in the world. If we want these custom objects in, then we can set this to true, and then we can also spawn the ratio. So this is the number of attempts to spawn a item in a chunk. So at the moment it's 2. If we want to increase these attempts, we can increase this. Or remember, if you're going to have it very high, then it might cause the lag when generation. But we'll go over that in the end, hopefully, a way to get around this generation lag. Okay, so you can also deny objects under fill. So even if objects under fill are enabled, then this will deny it anyway, so you can set that to true or false. And then when we have saplings, and when they grow, when they're normal to grow, we actually have a percentage chance of them growing into a custom bob tree. So if you don't want it to transform into a normal vanilla tree, then you can change this value here. We're almost at the end. So cave variables, so the cave rarity, this is just how many attempts per chunk to increase a cave or create a cave system. So if you increase this value, then obviously caves would be less rare. Cave frequency, so if it was successful in finding a place to build a cave, then this is it tries to make many caves in that chunk. So it will tend to make lower than this value here, because obviously it can only make so many in a side chunk. So about 40 tends, it says here, about 5 to 6 caves or cave systems starting per chunk. So you can increase that value if you want more caves, decrease that value if you want as many caves. We can also have the value of the lower altitude and max altitude for caves. So if you're going to have mountains and stuff, then you might want to increase this value for the max altitude to like 256, just so you can have caves in the mountains should you want it. And then obviously the minimum altitude is lower. If you have this to 0, obviously you might have bedrock appearing in some of the bottom of the caves. So an 8 is good value, just to avoid this issue. Individual cave rarity, so this is just the chance of that any cave made during the cave frequency stage will generate without a connecting cave or system. So this will attempt to create pockets as well. So the higher the normal density of a cave systems nearby, however, there's no guarantee of connecting to it. So this is just the rarity of having an individual cave that doesn't connect to anything. It could create pockets and stuff. So if you want them all connected, then obviously you can have this decrease this value here. So cave system frequency, so this is the number of attempts that it will start a system instead of continuing a single cave. So if you're going to have a high value of this, then obviously it might lag a bit. And then you've got the cave system pocket chance, and this will just add additional attempts to the individual cave rarity should you want it. And then we have the cave system pocket min size and max size. So if it does create a cave pocket, this will be the size of it from 0 to 4, a random value from this. If you want bigger cave pockets, then you can increase these values. If you want smaller, then decrease them. And finally we have the even cave distribution, and this will attempt to create caves in a nice orderly fashion. But if you turn this off, then there's going to be caves everywhere. There's going to be much more caves. So if you want caves everywhere, if you have like a cabin or something, then you might want to set this to true. And then we have similar settings for the canyon, the rarity of a canyon, so how many attempts it takes, and then we have the minimum altitude it can spawn at and the maximum altitude it can spawn at, the canyon minimum length and the canyon maximum length. So we have 84. So this is the length of the canyon. If you want much longer canyons, then increase these two values. And then the canyon depth, at the moment it's 3. If you want much deeper canyons, I put this to say 6 the other day just as a test, and it managed to get down to bedrock. So very, very big canyons. And finally, you have the old biome generator variables. So go back up to the top. If we set this to old generator, we get a few values here if you're familiar with that. So we have the old biome size. This is similar to the biome size we have. So the increase of this value makes the biome size bigger. And then we have the minimum and maximum moisture. So if you want a very deserty or dry place, then you could decrease the maximum moisture, and then we have the minimum temperature and maximum temperature. So again, if you want to change what biomes spawn, then you can modify this minimum temperature and maximum temperature. Okay, so that's the main configuration. However, if we really want to have some really in-depth work on our worlds and uniqueness, we are going to want to change the actual individual biome configs. So what I'm going to do, we're going to go look at the biome configs, and then we'll finally look at the blob plugins. So right, okay, so now I'm going to look at the biome configs. So open up the directory, and we should see a separate config for each of the biomes. Right, so this is where we can have also custom ones. So here we have the hail biome as well, and we're just going to go over one of the configurations. So open up in your editor as well. We're going to have Notepad. Okay, so first of all we have the biome size. So this is from 0 to the generation depth on our world config, and higher numbers will mean a smaller percentage of the world, and lower numbers will mean a bigger percentage of the world. So if you want a big, well, we're on the beach one at the moment. If you want a big beach biome, then we want to have a lower value here. But this doesn't work on ocean and river biomes because they're not added as a normal biome. We also have the biome rarity, similar to the one on the water config. So this again is from 100 to 1, and this is the chance for spawning this biome other than the other ones do. So if we have 100 rarity, that means 1 in a 6 chance of spawning. Another one if you have 6 default normal biomes. And if we set this to the lower value, then obviously it's going to have less chance of spawning. Okay, and again this doesn't work on ocean and river biomes because they're not added as normal biomes. The biome color, so this is the hex value for the TC map, which I'll show you in game. And this is just a text value, so we can change the color. We want it black, then we'll just type in the hex code for black. But we can change that to what we like. It's a good idea to have similar colors to what they have. So we have white for the taiga biomes, and you have yellow for the desert, and green for the forest, and darker green for the jungles and stuff. And I believe that's all set by default. Right, so we have the biome rivers. So if you want rivers to pass through, then you can set this to true. Alright, so we also have isle in biomes, and border is biome. If I open up another one, so let's open up forest biome. Forest hills, sorry. The isle in biome is basically, if we want, so forest hills are an isle, and they'll be placed inside the forest, or not inside, but around forest biomes. So that we want to, say we want to make hell hills or something, then we would have to put the hell biome here in the isle in biome. So that's that. And then we have the boat biome is border. So this is a list where the biome will be a border. So in the ocean biomes, the beach will be a border around. So this will be the transition biome from one biome, then you'll have beach, and then you'll have the ocean biome. And then we have a list of where the border is not applied. So not near river, swampland, extreme hills, and mushroom island. I believe I added this, added taiga as well, because it doesn't really blend well when you have ice straight to sand on the beach. It doesn't really gel well, so I added taiga hills and stuff here as well. But that's just where it, if it's near that, then it won't spawn there. Okay, we have the temperature. So this is a float value from 0 to 1. A higher temperature is 0.8, but it's the beach. If deserts have 1, I believe. And then the biome wetness, so 0 to 1. And this just is like if you want jungles to be hot and wet, and this just affects just really what it's like and what it's what it generates really. This is where we really get into the nitty gritty of each and every biome, and this is what you'll be changing a lot when you contemplate a world. Right, so now we have the biome height. So this is how much the height will be added or decreased, and it's a value from -10 to 10. So if we want a very high biome, then we'll have 10. I wouldn't change this too much, because then you'll have very large cliffs from one biome to another, depending on the height difference. If you want to decrease this, then obviously have a negative value here instead. A biome volatility. So at the moment this is 1, and this is just how wibbly wobbly and fuzzy it is really. That's the best way I can explain it, but that is. So if you want it a bit more random, a bit more strange, then you can increase this value here. If you don't want it as much, then obviously have it as 0. Right, so we have max average height and max average depth. So this is, if it's greater than 1 for the max average height, then this is how much the terrain will rise before leveling off when it increases its elevation. But if it's less than 1, this is how much it will decrease until it gets to its maximum elevation. And then we have the max average depth again, so this is similar, except this works in the opposite way. So this is how deep it goes before leveling off and whatnot. So there we go. So this is the average depth of the biome, and then the average height of the biome as well. And here we are, we have the volatility up. So this is the, again, like the fuzziness of the how volatile or chaotic the landscapes are, and it's just another type of noise. So if you have these values as high positive values, then you can have a very chaotic landscape, but it can create quite cool mountains and stuff and caverns. So you might want to play around with these two values. You'll want to play around with. If you have negative values, then you have much smoother, gentler landscapes. And then we have the weight of each one. So the weight of the volatility 1 and the weight of the volatility 2. And this is just how affecting each one is. So if we want volatility 1 to be heavier and more prevalent, then increase this value. And then we can disable all the noise at volatility 1 and volatility 2 by setting this to true, by setting this to false, and just keep this as the default. So this is a list of 17 double entries, and they can each control about 7 blocks of height from down. If they're positive entries, then you have a better chance of spawning blocks. If they're negative entries, then there is a smaller chance. So you can change these to how you like, and they'll basically affect the height and stuff. So you can actually customize the height control it has. If you're not sure what you're doing, I don't use this one personally because it looks very complex and loads of numbers. But you can change it to how you want, and I believe, well, I'm not sure. I have looked at the tutorials and stuff. I'm not sure it actually explains this one brilliantly, so I apologise for not knowing this one. But you can get around with not using it, so I guess it's alright. And if you did want to use it, obviously, then you'd have to take a look. Surface block ID. So this is just what's on the surface. So on like forest you have grass, on this one it's a beach, so we have sand. Then we have the ground block as well. So this is the block below the surface. So in plains we have dirt, and grass we have dirt, and this one we also just have sand again. Deserts, for instance, you have 24, which is sandstone, should you want it. So you have a layer of sand, and underneath it sandstone. And then replace blocks. I'll just go over this now. If we don't want certain blocks in a biome, we can actually replace them. So what we do, we have the ID of 1. So if we don't want any stones, we can have 1, the ID of a stone, which is 1, and then equals, and this is the ID it will be changed to. So we can have 12, which is sand. So we change all stone blocks to sand in this beach biome. And then we can have another one, so 2, which I think is grass. We can change it to dirt, which is free. And then we can add what height we want it to be as well. So we can have the minimum height and then the maximum height. So the minimum height we can have a 0, so from bedrock all the way it's about half the height from 128. So it will only affect the blocks in this height range, and then change it to all the grass blocks into dirt blocks from 0 to 128 height. We also have disable notch ponds, so you can set that to true or false. And these are just disable the small lava and water lakes on the surface. They're quite annoying sometimes, and I almost always set this to true. The biome visual settings, these, if you have the client of the TerrainControl, then these are the colors you can modify. So the sky color, the water color, grass color, and foliage color. You can change these as just hexadecimals. These are all white apparently, but you can change these to what you like. Right, and now we have the resource queue. So these are just what is placed down on the world and what order they go. So the first thing it'll do is it'll place down a underground lake, and then this is what we have. So so here we have all the information about each one. So the underground lake, we have the minimum size of the lake and maximum size, so from 50 to 60. We then have the frequency and the rarity, so this is how common it is. So if we want it to be rarer, you can change these values. And then we have the minimum altitude and the maximum altitude. So as you can see, underground lakes, obviously from 0 to 50, we wouldn't want them much higher because then they'll spawn on the ground and stuff. In the dungeon we have frequency, the rarity, and the altitude again. And then we have all the ores, so you can actually add your own ores if you really wanted to. And the way we do that is we'll just copy and paste one of these, and then we'll change the lapis ore to say it's like sponge. Right, so first we have the block name, which is sponge. Then we have the size, so how many of them we want to produce, so 5. Then we have the frequency, so how frequently it has. If we want to increase the frequency and how common it is, then increase this value. You can see here diamond, lapis being the rarest two, have much lower. And then we have the rarity as well, and then we have the minimum altitude and the maximum altitude. So as you can see, lapis ore and diamond will only spawn from 0 to 16 in lapis, where the clay here can go from 0 to 128. And then finally we have the block source, so you can add as many as you like here. But this is the block it will place when you place it, so it will place any stone block with this. If you wanted to add air, then you can add it like that, but that will make ores float around, but there you go. Then you have the underwater ore, like sand and clay, which is placed underwater, like lakes and rivers and stuff. Then these are the ores we'll have underneath it. Then we have the custom object, so these are the blobs which spawn. If you want blobs to spawn earlier, you can put them up here. If you want to spawn later, you put them there. And then we have the plants, so you can add plants there. These are the source blocks as well, which can be placed on. And then again we have the rarities and the frequency and stuff. Plants as well, we can have pumpkins or melons, and melons. And then these will be the height range, the frequency, and the block that's spawned on. And then we have the liquid and stuff. So you can change that as well. I tend to leave this as it is really. I tend to remove the pumpkins and that's it really. And sometimes I might increase the height value of the ores, but apart from that I don't really change that much. Alright, so we can also have a custom spawning of mobs and stuff. Now, there are some issues with passive mobs not spawning in TerrainControl. At the moment we have a problem like that on our worlds, but well, there is a way of, there's a cheat way of going around it. I've looked on the forums, is to, in multiverse, to turn the keep spawning memory to false, and that will stop or attempt to make the passive mobs, but that hasn't worked for us, so we're going to have to use the mobs plugin, which is called to spawn these passive mobs. I'll have to do a tutorial on that at a certain time. But we can add our own custom mobs for this beach, and I'm just going to go over how to do it anyway and whatnot. So let's have blazes spawn on the beach, because blazes are hot and beaches are hot. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 curly brackets. Then we have the first will be mob in speech marks and then space. Then we have the mob name, so this will be blaze. Then we have comma. Then we have the weight of it. This is not the weight of the mob, by the way. The mob. This is how random is selection, so this has to be a positive integer. So think of it as how rare or how common they are. So we'll have them as fairly rare, so 5. So this is just like how many there will be. And then we have the next one, min. So this is the minimum altitude which they'll spawn at, so let's say 0. Oh, sorry, not the altitude. This is the minimum amount of the mobs that will spawn, so we'll have, say, like 5. So the minimum number they can spawn is 5, and then the maximum number they can spawn is 5. So, well, it's 6. So they'll have randomly 5 or 6 blazes spawning in the what's it called? Beach biome. And then we can change these values to true or false, whether or not we want to use this. So that's a true or false there as well. And again, we have water creatures. So the only water creature at the moment is squid. Monsters, we've got like blazes and pixel zombies. There's a big list here which you can use, and some won't actually spawn unless you put them below, such as ocelots. So you might have to be forced to put them in there. But like I said, if you have any issues with mob spawning, then try the little trick with Multiverse, or you might have to get an external plugin to sort out the mobs spawning. So that's how you do it. You can obviously, each one will have its own config. The main things with these bees will be the volatility. If you want very strong mountains and stuff, then I would increase these values. If you want lower, what I've done in the oceans one, I find that if we see the biome height actually -1, so we have very low oceans, and I actually increase this value, I think 3 in our world, just to make the oceans just that much deeper, and so it doesn't spawn, occasionally it'll spawn land in the ocean biomes if you have this value, but you know, if you have it deep, then obviously you're not going to get any land on it and stuff. And there we go, so there's all the biomes. Obviously you've got the hell biome, which is a custom one. So let's have a look. We've got all the ores here. We haven't got any mobs spawning actually in this one. And then we've got the ground block and the surface block here as well. So surface block is grass and ground block is free. But there you go, you can set that to what you like. There you go. Not much to say about that. Like I said, this will be where you change most of the stuff. It's a bit tedious sometimes. It took me ages to get the right world using this, because I had to keep changing everything. But what if you take the time to change the volatility and the height and stuff, you can make really cool ones. Now just finally go with the Bob plugins. These are nice and fun, so I should be able to like these. Right, so I've got some Bobs here. I'm just gonna drag and drop these in, and they're .bo2 files. There is a list on the actual thread. You've got Massive Craft BO2s, and there's just a download here which you can have for, there's about 229 in those that they've created for their jungle world. I can't pronounce that. I'll give it a go. Go on then. Day and Rock. But you can see there's some baobabs, close enough, and they've got some like temples and stuff. And it's quite a nice little package that you can have if you want to get started. But I'll show you how to create your own. I was just going to go over one of these. So we're going to go over the Segura. So this is like a cactus. Actually, I'll show you a picture because it's on my wallpaper. They look like these. The smaller ones, and you got the bigger. Wait, you got the bigger ones and the smaller ones. These are the Seguras. You can see. This is the world I generated. This is back in 1.7.3. But this is just a desert world that I created, and we've got loads of these things spawning. So that's how you do it. And then I'm just going to go over how to actually make it. So first of all, we have the spawn on block type. So this is sand, so it only spawn on sand. Spawn on sunlight, so if you want not to spawn it in the sun, you spawn it in dark, so you can set this to true or false. Spawn water and spawn lava, so you can set these to true or false again, whether or not you wanted to spawn in water and lava. Underfill, you can set this to true or false. Random rotation, now you want to set this to true. As you can see, all these Seguras are randomly orientated. If you want them just to be in the same way all the time, then you can set that to false. Dig, can set this to true or false again, so digging. Tree, so whether or not it's a tree. So these, well, they are trees kind of, but if they represent a tree, then you can set this to true. And then you've got the branch as well, whether or not it's a branch, so set that to true or false. And then we have the rarity, so sometimes in some of the BI2 packs, I think some of them are 1. 1 is like very rare, and you rarely see it. If you want to find more of them, then increase this. If you have like a temple or something, then obviously you might want to set this to lower, but if you want like this one here, there's loads of them. I set a very high value for the rarity. The collision percentage, so this is a percentage from 0 to 100, and that's that. Spawn elevation and spawn elevation max, so this is the min and the maximum of the elevation it can spawn at. And finally we have the spawn in biome, so it can only spawn in desert or desert hills. If we want it to spawn in every biome, we can just do all, and because it's got the block type here, I only spawn on sand anyway, so that's how you do that. And then data, so this is very hard to read, to understand basically, from a human's perspective, or this just the text. I'm going to show you how to look at that a bit easier. Right, okay, so this thing called Better Bob, here it is. You can download the zip file here, and you'll have this here, so we're just going to, let's drag it just there, save some time. Also, you might want to create a folder. Yeah, it's not massive, it only takes a second to download. And it will basically allow you to build the bobs in a little program, and also view them as well. You can create on the thread as well. There is a schematic to BO2 converter, so you can create your own ones and then use World Edit or another program to export as a schematic and then convert it to BO2, and then obviously you have to modify it to how you want. Right, so let's open up the Better Bob, which is not there. It is there apparently. Right, let's open that up. Hopefully it'll work. I think sometimes it crashes first time on startup. Rather cool. Right, so here we go. This is the Better Bob. Better Bob. I'm gonna go File, Open, and then this is the beta world that we're doing from the Woopa. Got loads of bobs in, and let's find a cool one. Well, let's go for the Segura. So let's find the Segura. So this is the big one, and the nice way to do it, you can do isometric viewer. I can see there, that's the wood blocks with all the cactus blocks, and you can well, these don't actually do anything, but there you go, that's what it looks like, so you can get a rough idea. And then this is how it views, so if we scroll through, we can see each individual layer. So here we have the bottom trunk, and we have the wood going across, and then we have the cactuses on top, and there we go. So that's that, and you can then paint your own as well, so with any block, so I have say a clay block here, you can place some, there we go. done that wrong. And then right click to delete it, and then do isometric view. You can see there our clay's been placed. A bit strange, but there you go. And then you can use the that tool, and then we can change that. And there you go. That's how that works. So that's that. We can also create our own new ones and stuff. And then, oh, that's water. What's that? I don't know what that is. There you go. That's some sort of water, I think. No, it's air. So I'll just create some air. Well done, Sam. As you can see there, you can just make your own things. But this is, again, not the best way of making it. I would recommend doing it on just doing it in world, and then creating a schematic of it. But that's a nice easy way if you want to quickly look through Bobs. And I believe that is the end of the tutorial. I'll tell you what, we haven't gone over commands, have we? So let's go into the world then. Alright, hello everybody, now we're going to go over the commands in game. So let's give this a go. So the one main command you want to do is TC, and this just shows you all the commands. And we can also do TC list to see all the list of Bobs we've got. So we've only got 4 loaded. I'm going to spawn one by doing TC spawn sat Goro. And I can't spawn it here because it's too big. Let's try spawn it here, we'll spawn another one. TC spawn my bambus. And there we go, we've got some bamboo or reeds or whatnot, and you can see they spawn here, and we can make them physically spawn. Right, so that's that. We can also do TC reload and then the world, so we TC reload world. Apparently you won't allow us to do that, but there you go, that's how you reload the world in game. You can do TC map, and this will start generating a map. So remember we defined some colours. There will be a map in your root directory which will be named appropriately. Well, actually, let's find out what its name will be. And we don't know what it will be named. Oh, that's great. Well, there should be a PNG file inside your plugin directory, which will show you basically where. Oh, there we go. So it's called Woopa_biome. So your world name _biome. And then there should be a Woopa or world name _temperature, and this will just show you the sort of layout of what sort of world you've generated. So at the moment I've created a very watery world by the looks of things. The biomes are quite small, so you can have a rough idea without having to look everywhere. You can just create an image and then the temperature as well. You can also do TC check and then the world name, so and this will just tell you or not if you're I've got TC running on it. You can do TC biome. This will tell you what biome. As you can see, there we're on the beach biome. So there you go. So you can see there we are. This is a one near. If we walk over here, we'll walk over here. Try to walk. We are in a desert biome apparently, although I failed to see how we're in a desert biome and there's no sand here. Well, that's strange. There you go. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And then we can do TC2, and you can see there's no pages, no commands on the second page. The only thing I really use this command system for is just checking the biomes, which shouldn't. I mean, this isn't desert. Something must have gone wrong. In this is beach apparently still. This is not desert biome, unless the desert biome was really gone all green. I'm not sure what's gone wrong there, but yeah, there you go. But the only thing I use this for is the TC biome and TC map and TC spawn. TC spawn is useful if you want to just test out different bobs and stuff. So I apologise for this very long tutorial. my voice is going, or has gone already, and now I'm just speaking on nothing. It's a very big plugin, and hopefully I mean, it's been a long tutorial, and I think that I went over it, but probably not in as much depth. I would recommend highly giving it a go, testing it out on a local server, just changing the values, seeing for yourself what they do. I've gone over the volatility stuff and whatnot, and it's going really dark now, isn't it? And whatnot, but you can, the easiest way, it does take time, I'm not going to lie, it will take time to find the right world for you, and if you really want a customized world, then you're going to have to put the time in to do it. You can hire someone to do it. There's a guy called My Source. If you give him a donation first, then he will provide a world for you, and by looking at the worlds he's created, I would highly recommend him doing it. So if you want a unique world and you just haven't got the time to do it yourself, then I would recommend hiring My Source to do it. I mean, he's got links on the thread, so you can find that. But yeah, it's very good plugin. The config is very tedious, and it's not very well documented. Well, that's what people have been, but what can we say? The plugin itself takes enough time to make. The documentation is fair enough, but like I said, just play around with it. If you can't be bothered to do it, hire someone to do it. It will cost you money, obviously, but if you have a unique world, it's quite a selling point for a server, because then obviously you have an interesting world for your players to go around in. Just to let you know, we are using this one for the Woopa server we are setting up. I spent probably about 2 days configuring it to the right world. It took ages, but I'm pleased with the result that we have at the moment, and obviously you'll be able to see it when we actually release it to the public. So that is the end of this tutorial. It's been a long one, but thank you for sticking to the end. Good luck, you'll need it, obviously. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It's for me, Sam here for WoopaGaming, signing out. Goodbye.